as a marketer, I love that we're able to solve these problems for people and be able to first educate them on this is what's in your air or water that you don't know. Here's what we have done and why we know it works and how it will help address these issues you're having or make your life better.
Can you specify which role really changed the way you think about the business the most?
The one-time sale is one thing, and anyone can figure out how to get that one-time sale from a customer, but that's not what builds a brand, and that's not what gives you a foothold in their mind for where your brand lives. And being able to oversee that journey from that point on and understand that every time that there's a second purchase that happens, it's because we did a lot of things right to earn their trust.
How do you see your biggest operational challenge you want to simplify as you scaling right now? Welcome to Wellness on Purpose. I'm your host, Queenal Vrishni, and today I'm really excited about this conversation. Joining me is Peter Klein, Vice President of Customer Growth and Retention at Ideal Living. Peter, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And I'm excited.
Very excited.
I'm excited to learn from your journey and unpack what it really takes to grow and sustain a wellness business. Let's start from the beginning, your journey and foundation.
Great. Yes. So for the last 20 years, I've been in direct response marketing and almost exclusively with health and wellness brands and some beauty. It's been great. And I look forward to diving into that more. Prior to that, I was in a different industry doing academic advising and student affairs at a university. So, which ties in more than you might think to what I do today. And I can touch on some of the lessons learned from that also. But yeah, I was at a company called Guthy-Renker for a few years. That is a big infomercial company with Proactive, Meaningful Beauty, and other brands. And then I spent about 6 years at a company called Golden Hippo, which is all direct response portfolio of brands, including Gundry MD, Activated You, some pet brands. And there I was the chief customer officer and also the CEO of their call center and fulfillment businesses as well. And for the last 4+ years, I've been at Ideal Living, and I'm overseeing all of the touch points that have to do with customer lifetime value and experience for all of the brands. So that's the email and SMS channel, but also continuity and subscription programs, loyalty. Just how do we keep connecting with them and keep them happy and engaged with our brands?
Wonderful. So yeah, I was going to speak about that you started your journey with the customer care and the marketing side. So I was wondering what pulled you into that world early on?
I was always interested in marketing, and I didn't intentionally get into health and wellness products. I started working for an agency, and we had whatever clients we had basically. And what I really liked though was the problem solution relationship with some of the health and wellness products that I got to work on, and being able to enter the mindset of the customer, knowing that they're coming to us with some problem in mind, and how do we first show empathy, say, we understand and we're there, and then start explaining the solution that we have, why it works. And that was a fun journey. And then as I moved on to some other products and other brands, the thing that stood out the most and that I enjoy the most are when the products are great. And I only work now for the last several years. I've made sure that I work with companies and brands that do the work. They have the science behind it, and it allows us to market from a real place of confidence to say, we know that we have. So Ideal Living has two main brands, Air Doctor, which is professional grade air purifiers, and then AquaTru, which has a bunch of water purifiers and a shower head as well. Both of those brands do all of the testing and certifications and all the contaminants that they remove and everything. And so as a marketer, I love that we're able to solve these problems for people and be able to first educate them on this is what's in your air or water that you don't know. Here's what we have done and why we know it works and how it will help address these issues you're having or make your life better. So that part is very rewarding. Same with supplements I've worked on, just that specific problem solution relationship and knowing that we have things that truly address their problems and can improve their lives.
Interesting. I mean, because I see that you have worn many hats, CEO, CMO, customer officer. I mean, of course, you're talking about why you changed the role, but can you specify which role really changed the way you think about the business the most?
When I was the chief customer officer at Golden Hippo, it really gave me the perspective of the one-time sale is one thing, and anyone can figure out how to get that one-time sale from a customer, but that's not what builds a brand, and that's not what gives you a foothold in their mind for where your brand lives. And being able to oversee that journey from that point on and understand that every time that there's a second purchase that happens, it's because we did a lot of things right to earn their trust, to get the website worked properly. The product arrived when they thought it would. If they had an issue and called customer service, someone answered the phone and solved their issue. Everything, the product had to work and meet their expectations. The price had to be right. The value had to be right for what they got. And so that really had a big impact on me of everything that goes into not just being something that was an impulse buy that someone bought, but something that is going to be adopted as part of their life as on an ongoing basis and help address something that is more serious for them. And so to tie it back to what I'm doing now, a lot of what I learned on the contact center and fulfillment side, it's how do we then take those lessons and bring them into the acquisition side or earlier on in the funnel where we can pre-answer any concerns that they have, or we can see what common cancellation or refund responses come up. How do we address that before they ever ask? And it all gets tied together and it's never boring. Keeps me going and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm always curious, ma'am, which seat shifts your perspective. So I think the way you mentioned that, of course, the chief customer officer, wonderful.
And just to add a little more to that is when I was on the acquisition side of things first, I'd be looking at numbers, and every time an order number went up, I wasn't thinking about every single one of those orders means picturing someone packing and shipping that box and every single step that goes along with it. So later when I got to see every moving piece, that just gave me the perspective of the effort that goes into getting that first sale is super important, but is one part of the puzzle, and we need to continue it. So many ways that things can go wrong along the way. So how do we minimize those, or at least just be aware of where these potential pitfalls are?
So now that you are talking about the potential pitfalls, so you are at Ideal Living. So what problems are you personally most excited to solve?
There are a lot, and that's
of course,
and they're all exciting. And that's, if people aren't worried / excited about things, then they're in the wrong business, because that's again more fun. For me right now, we have an interesting challenge, which is when both Air Doctor and AquaTru started as brands, there was a lot of educating that needed to happen in terms of this is the problem and this is why you need an air purifier, or this is why you need to be purifying your water in a way that you aren't right now. And after certainly COVID had a big impact on this, but also the public consciousness about microplastics, forever chemicals, things that have really seeped into the public consciousness more. So we've had to pivot in a way where our customers are coming to us with a lot more education already. So we don't need to educate on why you need this as much as why ours is different and better and why you need our version of this product. And that's subtle, but it's also a departure from what was working to grow these brands. And then the biggest challenge though, and if you're going to any conference, it's almost as if there's a quota of the number of times that AI has to be mentioned, because it was just so often, every single talk, every conversation, there's so many tools out there of how we can get hyper personalization with our customers. How do we have the right triggered emails and SMS messages to talk to people where they are, give them the information they need at that time, but also stick to the things that are really going to move the needle. There's so many tools out there, and there are more good ideas than hours in the day. So it's how do we really focus on what are the big things that can really have an impact, and how do we focus on those and then tinker from there? That's a challenge too, getting cold calls and emails all the time of things that I totally see how they could be great and help, but how do I prioritize those things? And the founders of our company, Katie Williams and Peter Spiegel, are very, very big on testing, and they know that you need strong appetite for it, but you test, you measure, and if it works, great. You keep going. If not, hopefully you learn something from that. You can apply it to the next test, but you need to have that muscle of test, learn, repeat nonstop. So we always have that appetite for what's out there. And even if we don't know much about it now, how can we try it out and see if it helps take us to the next level?
So are you using some kind of a system right now for this kind of a problem?
We're doing a lot of it manually, and we've talked to certain CDPs and different companies that can help us automate it a lot more. But right now, we're trying to just get a real handle on who are these pockets of customers and what do we need to tell them when. So some of it is more simple, like if someone buys an air purifier, we know they're going to need replacement filters. We can automate that where if you bought an Air Doctor 3500, we know that the carbon filter, the VOC filter, will need to be replaced in 6 months. We can send a message. That's only part of it. It's not just, hey, it's time. It's as a reminder, these are all the things that this machine that you invested in is doing for you and your family's health. A big part of that is having updated or a new filter to capture all of the particles. So we're going to help make it easy with this. Click on this link to get a deal on it, because we want to keep you using the machine, getting the benefits from it. And while you might see others out there claiming to do similar things, here's what to look at so there's more education on that point. So it's really key to marketing is entering the conversation already happening in the customer's mind. And I think about that all the time. How do we know what they're thinking, when, and how do we just join that right now? And I know that one of the questions people have is, can I just get some knockoff filter somewhere else? Will it do the same thing? So we need to be there with that answer ahead of time and say, not if you want it to work as well. That's how we're trying to do it right now.
I'm hearing that you're saying that as the company grows, it becomes harder to keep consistent with like messaging, experiences, and follow through. Are you doing these kind of a thing? Are you still doing it manually, or you're using some support?
We set them up manually for the most part. It's the whole test thing. If we set something up and we see that it is bringing the desired result, whether that's an increase in engagement or additional orders, then we automate it. And there are tools. We're in the middle of migrating to a whole new system right now that has all the promises of every out-of-the-box solution you can imagine. And so we'll see which of these actually would impact our day-to-day, give us what we need, but in a much simpler way. And there's certain testing platforms that are fantastic at that, where they can say, that are designed for the marketer to go in and say, I want 3 versions of this website, an ABC split evenly that shows these things. And this is the main metric that I'm looking at to determine success. I think that's the next frontier for us, really, is all of the ideas we have, but finding the right system to help automate it and make it more seamless, where we can say, go from what if to live faster.
So talking about that, I could feel that your company is growing, but what kind of a pressure you feel the most internally, like acquiring customers, keeping them engaged, or maybe supporting them after they purchase?
I think all of those. We're really trying to enhance every step of it. I think the biggest challenge right now is the standing out. There are so many competitors in the space, but with a wildly different range of efficacy in what they do. And so if price is the number one consideration for someone and that's all they're sorting by, our products are probably not going to be right for them. Ours, like I said, have all of the certifications and have everything done, where sometimes the cost of getting all of that is spending more to build some machines that really work well. We just have to educate a little more. And I saw this similarly back at the Golden Hippo days. A lot of our brands sold probiotics and different supplements. And it's not just, here are probiotics and what they do for you. People got wise to that. And as that category grew, Golden Hippo was the number one seller of online probiotics for a while. A lot of people caught up. And so then it was, you need this many billion CFUs if you really wanted to do these things. Or yes, this ingredient is good, but you have to use it at this level that was in the clinical studies to actually see the impact. So it just, the education changes of how we're different and better. And so I saw that on the supplement side, and I see that now in the air and water space as well.
I understand most of the teams feel it somewhere, like where we have to tweak or where we have to change it a lot. I mean, yes. So you have your reviews quarterly and you get your statistics and data. So when you see your data comes in, what's the hardest for you? Like getting the visibility, maybe trusting it, or like acting it on quickly?
I love data and I struggle with it all the time, because the number of platforms and tools we use keeps growing, and for good reason. Some of them are pretty specific what they do, but when they don't match, the conversation changes to what numbers are we believing today and why. And thankfully we have a great analytics team that says, yeah, this is our source of truth here. But then we have an attribution tool that might be saying something a little different. And so I care about the customer journey, and I will focus on, this tool will tell me what the first click is, the number of steps they took. Did they search and then click on an influencer link and then search again and then click on an email, and then it ends with the last click was search again? That at least gives me information. And if the numbers don't match the source of truth numbers on the revenue side, that's not really what I'm going to that original channel for. I'm looking to see the journey. And so I think that's what it comes down to on the email side. I know that when I'm looking at my ESP, I will use that for click rate. I will use that for link activity to see certain things, but I'm not going to use the revenue there, because if it doesn't match this one that everyone else in the company is using, it's really picking and choosing. That's the tough part. When I look at the data, is the first question has to be, where is this from? So if someone provides me with a report, like, okay, which report from which which platform did this come from? Back when I was at Guthrie Ranker, I would put projections together sometimes for if we get this many people and the customer lifetime value is X. Turns out we had 3 different customer lifetime value numbers based on what department gave it to us. And so that would always be the first question, like, well, whose number are you using? Are you using the marketing planning and analytics number or the customer? That's something that I don't see a quick end to because we have just more and more data coming in. But as long as you define, all right, everyone, this is where we get the end number and this is what we're using. And you can use these things for either directional feedback. It's not clean, but as long as it's directional and you know what you're trying to measure, then there's a way to make it work well enough.
This kind of a gap may slow down a lot of decisions. That's where the hurdle comes in.
Absolutely.
So the follow-up question would be, if you could remove one friction from the customer journey this quarter, what would you tackle first?
As someone who's focused on lifetime value, the friction for me that I would like to address is what is the biggest impact I can have? If I could push a button and it said, focusing on this cohort of customers or people who are in this stage of the journey is where you will be able to amplify things the most. That would help me just prioritize and focus. If I know that, and a good example of this is when it comes to subscriptions, if we know that people tend to, and I'll use a previous example on more of a monthly supplement subscription. If I know that the most common time that people cancel their subscription is day 75 between shipment 2 and 3, then that tells me, all right, let's focus on that. And I'm going to have a message in their second shipment that says, stay tuned, you're going to have a surprise gift in your next one. Or we'll have a targeted email 5 days before when most people cancel to say, thank you for being a valued customer. Here's an extra X% off your next shipment. So it's about isolating a single metric and then having tests all geared toward that metric to try to improve it. Doing that right now with lifetime value for day 1 average order value. We have different upsell tests and we can position different products and bundles in a certain way to really aim at that day 1 sale. But then for day 30 lifetime value, it's all about the post-purchase email flows and how do we communicate with customers and try to pull up that second purchase or an upsell or a cross-sell to a different brand. So that's the name of the game, is you isolate the metrics that are going to have the biggest impact and then set up a series of tests designed to hit your numbers.
What I feel is retention is the new lead. I mean, it's easy to get the customers, but engaging them and keeping them consistent is the biggest hurdle.
It is. And they're also such an amazing source of information. And we survey our customers often. We ask them about products they'd like to see us develop. And we've taken that to heart and created new products based off their suggestions. And we really care about that feedback. And if they can go out there, people go online and they trust what complete strangers are saying more than almost anyone else. So if we can keep our existing customers happy and informed and excited about what we're going to come out with next, that will come through in comments, in reviews, in referrals. And those are the best customers possible, are the ones who come in because a friend said, hey, this is great, you should get one too. And there's 0 to very little acquisition cost for that customer.
I feel often the wellness brands, they struggle with the trust and education. Unless the customers are educated consistently and maybe time and time again, that's how they build their rapport. Otherwise, they'll disengage the moment they'll hear about the new brand.
And that's where communicating results, time frame for results. When I worked on the Proactive brand for skincare, for anti-acne products, we had to be very clear with customers up front that the doctors behind it can take 6 to 8 weeks to see your full results. So stick with it. You're doing a great job, because we knew that customers would call 5 days into using it saying, I want to cancel because I'm not seeing results. How do we educate ahead of time? Or with probiotics saying, for the first week, you might experience some stomach discomfort because it's going to attack the bad bacteria first. And then you'll get in a state where, so if you can get through that part, it's smooth sailing. If you don't communicate that ahead of time, then they'll say, oh, this isn't working for me. I don't want it anymore. But if you communicate it well, then they might stick forever.
Now we are coming to the few last questions. Because of the time, I promise you it won't be too long. So
if you can't tell, I could talk about this stuff all day long.
I'm sure. Just wanted to ask you, looking ahead 6 to 12 months time, how do you see your biggest operational challenge you want to simplify as you scaling right now?
As we're scaling, we have a great in-house creative team, and we're trying to coordinate all of the moving pieces, all of the way our customers find us right now, and have it be a seamless brand strategy across all of those. And the brand teams, we have really excellent teams on each of the brands. And that's the big challenge where customers might find us from searching or from someone forwarding them an email or their favorite influencer talking about this product. But then when they land on the site, it's the challenge of how do they know they're in the right place because it looks like what they saw right before they clicked on it. But then if they go from another channel, how do we keep the consistency at the same time so that the brand starts to get that foothold that I was talking about before? So I think that's a big challenge. And when we talk about what the brand is and what it stands for, what are the touch points or the hallmarks that have to exist across all of those touch points, no matter what, so that we have that brand consistency. And then one layer down, who are we talking to, where, when, what part of the funnel are they in? Very different. If someone is, searching for non-branded search for air purifiers, we're going to have to do some education on why, what it is, why ours is better. But if someone has an influencer that they know and trust who just talked for several minutes about this great product and here's my exclusive link, click on it now. If we start educating them when they land on the page, that's not where they are in the process and we might lose them because they're ready to buy. So it is the challenge of brand consistency, but also specificity on channel and part of the funnel. And so that's what we have coming up for us is how do we keep navigating that?
So when you say that the customers find us, are you using any kind of marketing channels or maybe ads campaign? Are you doing that? Or are you just using the Google search and refer?
No, we have multiple channels. So we have people do find us from search, but we have our number one acquisition channel is from social influencers. And we have a lot of partners out there who are talking about our products and use our products and get to say how much they love them. We do ads on different social media platforms as well and some retargeting there. We have prospect email flows for people who have landed on our site and shown some interest from search or however else they got to the site if they didn't buy it at that time. So as our brands get out there more, and I'm finding more and more Air Doctors and AquaTrus just out in the wild, or when I mention what brands I work on, more people already know them. We get to see that then the branded search comes up. And then sometimes it's, I already heard about you from somewhere. And then we just have to figure out how do they get to us and what does that mean? And then I forgot Amazon is a decent chunk of our business as well, where some people, that's just where they prefer to buy. And we want to give them their channel of choice. If they want to buy from Amazon, they want to go through our site. We just want to have some options. And the company's mission is to provide a healthy foundation of pure air and water for everyone. And so we want to just be available for everyone that is seeking that and hope they come across the various ways that we're trying to answer that call.
Understood. Yeah, of course, before it becomes a bigger problem, you have to address that sooner. Wonderful. Peter, this was such a wonderful conversation, and I really appreciate how you openly shared both your wins and the realities of growing in a wellness business. Just to our listeners, if you're building this space, there's a lot to learn from how Peter thinks about customer and a long-term growth. So Peter, thank you again for your time, and this was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much. It was great chatting with you, and I look forward to listening to all of the episodes and keep learning myself because there's so much to learn out there. So thank you.